Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a great week so far. Welcome to the class. In this class, we are looking at an IELTS reading section, and I will be teaching you about what steps you need to take in the reading section to get that perfect band 9 score. This is a members chat class. Everybody is welcome to watch, of course, and we will have an all chat class coming up in about 90 minutes. That will be for the listening section where we will get to practice and talk some strategy. Welcome, Sammy. Welcome, Mandeep. Good to see our members joining in. While we wait for some of your peers, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com, as well as gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have lots and lots of materials to help you prepare for your next IELTS exam and get those high band scores. Definitely check us out there. This is our Academic IELTS website here with the blue background. We are an official British Council IELTS test registration center and certified agents. And you can click this big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access to original practice exams, a fully interactive course, and over 100 hours of HD video lessons. This is our General IELTS exam, our General IELTS website here with General IELTS exams. And again, you can click this big red button to join us there. Again, it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. And if you join today, I'll give you a discount code. It's R4TYJ. You'll get a 20% discount with that code. So it doesn't cost a lot either way, and definitely well worth it. Hi, Nick Hill. We have apps that power our websites. Academic IELTS Help app links to aehelp.com. General IELTS Help links to gieltshelp.com. And if you have any questions about our materials or about the IELTS exam, you can always just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. All right, students, so we've got lots of lessons and we've got reading today. So we're going to get right into our reading lesson. Today we have this kind of a interesting and fun topic for you. This is coming from our 5th exam. It's reading passage 1, and the title here is Why Do Tortoises Live So Long? And then we have this nice picture of a couple of tortoises saying good morning to us on this beautiful day. When you see this kind of a title, and especially when you see a picture like this, your very, very first strategy is always just to stop for a moment and think about what you are going to read. One of the most important steps in IELTS to be successful is to really just pace yourself, focus, don't rush, and use the knowledge that you already have from your life experiences. IELTS, especially the academic IELTS, it's not just a test of English, it's an English proficiency exam that's also testing your worldly knowledge, your ability to communicate. Welcome, Carolina. Good to see our moderator in the class as well. Welcome, Paulo and Gliding Waves. All right, everyone. So when you see this title, Why Do Tortoises Live So Long? You should firstly think critically about this question, okay? So you should ask yourself that question and give it some answers. So what do you think, members? Why do tortoises live so long, and how long do they actually live? So why do tortoises live so long? And so long, right away you should think over 100 years. well over 100 years. So what do you think? Carolina says, for preservation of generations, for reproduction and survival. And Carolina, that's a really good answer, because our prime directive as living organisms that we as humans tend to forget because of our busy lives, but for most organisms, including humans, we could argue that the prime directive is for reproduction. So to reproduce and to continue the species. Yeah, absolutely. So different organisms have different strategies to do that. And certainly there could be a link between the longevity of tortoises and the capacity or the ability to maintain their species. Absolutely. Nick Hill says it's not 100 years, it's probably closer to 150 years. Yeah, and perhaps even longer than that. Okay, good. So what's the next question that you should ask? And here what we're doing is we're attempting to predict the content of the passage so that we can understand it a little bit better. So if we see new words, if we see some confusing, complex sentences, then we have a better chance to make sense, to understand those ideas, because we already have some of them in our head since we're thinking critically about it. Okay, Paulo says life in water helps them live longer. Tortoises are more land creatures. So turtle lives in water, tortoise lives on land. That's one of the big differences. Okay, so Paulo, keep this in mind. Turtles live in water versus tortoises live on land. For the most part, they are both water-loving creatures, but turtles much more so, like this very famous sea turtle that we have a listening passage on as well, right? Okay, it's an easy confusion, and Paulo, native speakers often confuse these two as well, so it's completely natural to make that mistake, and that's why that picture is there to help you. So Sammy says their shell protects them from predators. So before you jump to that answer, Sammy, you should think about the question of how do tortoises live so long, right? And then Sammy says an answer to that is their hard shells protect them from predators. Predators are animals that, or organisms that prey on another animal, meaning for food. Okay? Paulo says these all seem to be synonyms. Yeah, they do. They're very similar sounding words, but they're actually quite different here. So yeah, so Nick Hill says, how do they protect themselves from predators? In fact, how do they live so long, right? Predators are one of the dangers for long life. Okay. Carolina says, well, because of their anatomy, they have a healthy life. They eat healthy. Okay. Yeah, so they eat lots of greens, lots of vegetables, obviously. And something about their anatomy. Their anatomy is their physiology, their physical makeup, their biology, right? So even though some other organisms live very healthy lives, they still might not live to 150 years. So there's obviously something very unique about tortoises. What is that unique behavior and anatomy of tortoises that allows them to live such a long life? Okay. All right. Pedro, the title's fine. Yeah. Sammy says they rest very well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so they are slow-moving beasts that do not seem to stress much in life. Absolutely. So, one of the unique features of tortoises, when we really think about it, is that the tortoise is a slow moving beast. It's not rushing to get anywhere, and it doesn't stress much. People tend to forget at times that stress is very difficult on the body, and it's the number one killer for humans, absolutely. So let's take a lesson from tortoises, and let's not stress about life. Let's take it easy, step by step. And that's where the saying or the fable of the tortoise and the hare comes from, right? So remember the tortoise and the hare. Okay. The story of the tortoise and the hare. Hare is a wild rabbit. Okay. So an expression or an idiom that you might hear or might have heard in English is slow and steady wins the race. Okay. So the tortoise, unlike the hare, just keeps slowly moving forward and forward. And of course, in the story, the rabbit has such a big ego that it falls asleep thinking that there's no way that the tortoise can win the race. And the tortoise just keeps going and eventually wins the race. And hence you have this expression in English, slow and steady wins the race. And the reason I'm highlighting this expression as well is because that's also the big trick to success on the reading section of the IELTS exam. So this is true for IELTS reading as well. You need to be consistent in the reading section, stick to strategy, and move through each passage without panic and without flipping through the pages like a crazy squirrel. Okay. So too often I see IELTS students just flipping through the pages in the reading section and getting really frustrated and skimming and scanning, and then they get lost, they run out of time, they don't find the answers, and they panic. And that's kind of like the hare, of course, minus the nap. The better way to do it is like the tortoise, right? So live a long life, don't stress, stick to strategy, and go step by step. And Carolina's throwing a little tortoise emoji in there for us to keep us inspired. That's great. Okay. Deborah says also their ability to retract their heads into their shells when they sense danger. And Deborah, that's true for some tortoises. It's more true, I think, for turtles. Tortoises aren't able to retract their heads quite as much. All right. So we've thought about this a bit. Now we go back to the reading passage. And we visualize. So every time that you see an image like this at the beginning of the passage, you want to visualize. So you want to make sure that you're seeing the information in the passage. What is needed for effective visualization? Okay, so I want to review this. We have a lot of new members. These are the kinds of strategies that you learn on our websites. So yes, you want to visualize, but not only visualize, you want to visualize effectively. So what is needed for effective visualization? Okay, in 3 steps. So what do you need to have effective visualization? Paulo says try to make it unique. Yeah, because our brain holds on to unique information. Okay, and Paulo says put yourself in the scene. Absolutely, Paulo, because again, our brain is much more effective at processing information that it feels like it's a part of. Okay, Natalie says include yourself. Absolutely. So these days we're so used to watching a screen like a TV or our mobile phone that a lot of information is distanced from us. It's far from us. And the brain just kind of digests and throws information like that out all day long, every day. Because if it were to hold all that information with focus, it would just be too much. So the brain likes to hold information that it feels is personal. Absolutely. The first step, however, to effective visualization is see the image clearly. Okay? So when you're visualizing that tortoise, you see its shell, you see its little head, you see its little feet. Okay, that's fine. It's a sketch or an outline of a tortoise. Be a little bit more creative. So see its eyes, see its mouth, see the patterns on its shell, see its little toenails. As far as I know, tortoises have little tails. So see the little tail, see the trees around it. Okay, see its little buddies. So really give it that extra bit of attention to see details, to have clarity. When you do that, you're going to understand the information much, much more, okay? So to have better understanding, that's why you want to see images clearly, okay? And you want to, of course, as you're saying, include yourself, okay? And the reason that you want to include yourself is so that your brain can remember the information better. A lot of students complain that when they read a passage, they understand the English, they understand the information, but they forget as soon as they read the passage. So they read the passage, once they get to the question, they're like, I can't remember what I just read. Okay, so to avoid that, include yourself. So include yourself in order to help you focus and remember the information. And this is something that takes practice. So we're all born with this ability to visualize. Humans especially are extremely visual creatures. However, it's still something that takes practice. So just like a cheetah is born to run really fast, but it's not going to be that fast if it's laying under a tree all day. It has to actually practice running fast. It has to practice running after that zebra or after its sibling cubs in order to develop those muscles to run really fast. Just like for us humans, we have to develop our innate skills, and visualization is one of those. So one of the key skills. So include yourself. That will help you to remember the information more. And then, of course, the third step that a couple of you mentioned is make it unique in some way. Okay, and the reason, can anybody guess why it's important to make information unique in some way? So when we say unique, it has to be strange, funny, sad, happy. So it has to create emotions of surprise, for instance. So why do you think that is? Why do you think it's important to make the information unique in some way when you're visualizing information that you read? Sammy says it's easy to remember. Yes, but that's kind of more you're including yourself so that you can remember it. Debarak says to stand out in your memory, kind of. There's another reason for it. It's a really good reason. Natalie says it's easy to remember when we have emotions. Yes, so emotions definitely lock information into memory a little bit better. One of the big reasons that we want to make it unique is because it becomes easier to recall. Okay. So, oftentimes, people tend to group the concept of remembering and recalling information into one concept. But these are actually two very unique processes, I could say, in our brain. Okay, so one half of this is to remember the information, the other half is to recall the information, to bring it back. And psychologists actually think that there's a chance that we actually remember just about everything that we experience and see in the world. However, it's not our memory that's the tricky part. The tricky part is actually the recall, to bring information back when we need to use it. Okay? And that's why we want to make it unique, because our brain has an easier time to bring back information that is unique and emotionally charged. That's the way our brain is programmed. Okay? So, all right. So, what would be a unique and personal way to visualize this passage? What are your suggestions, members? So, when you see this topic in the reading, why do tortoises live so long? And you see the picture and you think critically and you remember the steps to visualizing the information, what would be one way that you could kind of set your brain up in order to recall this information and to make it personal, to make it interesting? What could you do? So, what would be an approach? There's definitely different ways to do it. Again, you want to practice this. So, how would you visualize, or how would you start to visualize this passage? I'll tell you what I would do. So, I would imagine that this is my pet turtle. My pet turtle's name is Tonto. Okay, I'm just going to give it a name. I don't know why. I've always liked that name, Tonto. So this is my pet, tortoise, not turtle, right, Paulo? So this is my pet tortoise, Tonto, Tonto the tortoise. And Tonto the tortoise is very big and very old. And I'm kind of sitting on top of him, riding the tortoise. And I'm having a lot of fun, my giant tortoise pet. Some people like horses. I have no rush in life, so I'm riding my tortoise, and I'm like, wee! I'm going so fast. My fast tortoise friend and pet, Tonto. Okay? It looks like I'm not the only one who is excited about Tonto and riding Tonto. Nick Hill also says, I'll consider the tortoise a giant creature, and I'm riding on it. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I guess others also have this inkling to ride a giant tortoise. Okay? All right. Natalie, seeing yourself in Australia among giant tortoises is okay. How is that unique? That's what you have to ask yourself. So how is that creating an emotion for you? Are you petting the tortoise? Are you feeding the tortoise bananas? So what are you doing? Okay. All right. Once you've created this image, and this should only take a brief second, you're engaging your mind. It's like you're activating your mind. Instead of drinking a cup of coffee, you're much more effectively triggering the natural mechanisms of your mind to process information. Okay. Natalie says, I can pat them. Yeah, patting them would be doing this. And if you're petting them, you'd be doing this. Okay, so pet, pat. All right, keep that in mind. Okay, so hopefully everybody watching now has this kind of clear image of the tortoise, and it's unique and it's personal. D. Barak is saying, I'm going on a walk with my tortoise stress-free. Yeah, so you've... Okay, D. Barak, yeah, so you've maybe got a leash on your tortoise. Poor little tortoise. You've got like a little dog leash on your tortoise. You're taking your tortoise for a walk. You're definitely not stressing, D. Barak. I would feel sorry for the people in the cars waiting for you to cross the road at a signal light. They might be there for a few red lights, but definitely funny and good visualization as well. So you want to practice that, and it becomes fun. Remember this too, everyone, that the more you practice this kind of visualization, the more the quicker, the more natural you will become at it. Again, because our brain is programmed to do this, and you'll start to find that your brain will automatically start to do this, okay? So it would definitely be good stress therapy to take a tortoise for a 1-hour walk. I agree. Okay, so keep that in mind. Some people think, oh, it's silly and this and that, but not at all. When you do this, your brain will become extremely good at it, okay? So when you consistently practice what we just called effective visualization, your brain will start doing this naturally. Mine does, as I've been teaching this for quite some time. Also, you will realize that your information processing will improve by leaps and bounds. Okay, that means greatly. It's an expression. So your information processing will improve by leaps and bounds. Okay, Deepika, gliding waves. I'm glad that we could put a smile on your face. Okay, Paulo says, I'd get pretty stressed walking a tortoise. Maybe at first, Paulo, but then hopefully the tortoise will win you over and you'll calm down. Okay. So back to the reading. All right, we're visualizing. Keep that image. Hold on to that image. Okay, so hold the image. Hold your visualization in your mind. All right, now in the reading, it's a good idea to take a look at the questions. Read questions that have information which is in the passage. Here we have which paragraph contains the following information. Okay. And note, by the way, you may use any letter more than once. So it could be that 2 of these come from one paragraph. Let's just read these for now. Factors that lower tortoises' life expectancy. Okay. Variables that decrease the longevity of turtles. So you want to paraphrase these in your head as much as you can when you read these. Tortoises being used as a food source. So the tortoise meat as a consumable. Okay. Separation from predators contributes to their long lifespan. So isolation from their enemies that eat them helps them to live a long life. Some animals have different methods of ensuring the species lives on. Different creatures have various ways of guaranteeing that they survive for generations. Okay. So I'm doing this very quickly. Again, this paraphrasing, do it on pen and paper at home. I don't want to take too much time because if I get into every single strategy in detail, we just won't be able to get to the reading. Number 5, tortoises have difficulty adapting to new environmental pressures. So tortoises are challenged to overcome new difficulties or new dangers in their surroundings. Okay, so with this type of question, skimming and scanning, absolutely ineffective because you're going to be scanning and skimming the text over and over again. It will take way too long and it will be confusing. So the rabbit would do that. The tortoise would just read the passage and then answer these after. Okay. All right, then we have complete the sentences below. Choose no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. Write your answers in boxes 6 to 9 on your answer sheet. So again, these questions are all included somewhere in the passage, not with the same words. Okay, they'll always change the words. That's, of course, one of the ways in which the IELTS exam makers want to ensure that students aren't just skimming and scanning for information, because that's not really reading. Okay, so number 6, the causes of the tortoise's
long life, are biological, and something, I know it's a noun. While salmon lay thousands of eggs at once, tortoises rely on their some kind of a skill to continue the species. Okay. Unlike the tortoise, animals such as some type of animal have very high metabolisms. So I don't know what these answers are yet, but I can kind of predict what they might be. Like in this one, unlike the tortoise, animals such as the. So animals such as means that this is going to be some kind of an animal. Okay, so keep that in mind as you do this. Okay, the tortoise's something protects them from attacks, thus lengthening their life. Now here, I might guess that the answer is shell. Okay, so the tortoise's shell protects them from attacks. But I have to be careful. It is minimum 2 words. There could be an extra word in there as well, okay, that's needed. So careful to just put the answer in and then say, okay, that's what it is for sure, right? So leave your thinking a little open-minded, okay? All right, and then we have questions 10 to 13. Right away, by looking at it, I can see it's a true, false, not given. True, false, not given questions I ignore before reading the passage simply because I don't know which of these are true, which of these are false, and which of these are even given. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to read that. Okay, and then I come back to my passage, and keeping in mind visualization and critical active reading, I start to read the passage. All right. So again, students, if you want to join our premium package on our website, use this code R4TYJ to get that 20% discount. And for everybody watching right now, make sure to read with me. Okay. So read with me. Read aloud if you can, and visualize. Okay, so as you read this, picture the information, make it unique. Okay, all right. And Paulo says we can't see the beginning of the line. No worries. I'm trying to use maximum screen space here, so that's why I'm moving it around a bit. Let's see if you'll be able to. There you go. Yeah, thank you for communicating with me, Paulo, and letting me know. All right, awesome. Okay. So let's read this from the top. I'm just going to have a sip of water to wet the whistle. All right, here we go. Read with me, students. So, tortoises are some of the longest lived creatures in nature. They can live so long that scientists have yet to fully document the lifespan of these hard-shelled reptiles. Reports, however, indicate that certain species of tortoises can live up to 200 years, far longer than the average human lifespan. The reason tortoises live so long are evolutionary and biological, though the population of these ancient creatures is declining due to low reproduction rates and increased predation. All right, so here, when you're practicing good visualization, okay, you should stop for a second and think about, okay, what am I seeing when I read this information? Okay, so when I read this information, again, I picture myself on top of this tortoise, okay, riding the tortoise, and I visualize that some of his buddies are being eaten by these big predators, okay? And maybe I'm trying to fight them off with my sword, okay? I'm going all kind of medieval style. So I've got my sword. I'm trying to fight the predators that are killing these long creatures. And I know that my pet tortoise here is going to be very old. Maybe give him a beard. And Luckily, if I am able to fend off these predators, my pet Tonto is going to outlive me. So I'm going to become a very, very old man before Tonto, and Tonto will live on. Okay. So I'm visualizing this again, okay, in as much detail as possible, and I'm including myself into the information. Okay. All right, Depika says, oh no, that's a scary predator. Yeah, it's nothing but a giant mouth with big sharp teeth, right? Okay. I'm going to downsize the screen a tiny, tiny bit, Paula, and then it'll be better, okay? All right. So, here we go. Okay, next paragraph. Let's keep going, nice and smooth, and let's keep visualizing, okay? So nature is incredibly diverse, but the common factor among creatures is the need to reproduce. Some creatures, such as humans, have small numbers of young which are cared for diligently. Others, such as salmon, have no interaction with their offspring whatsoever. Instead, salmon rely on the sheer number of eggs they lay. They lay so many eggs that some are bound to survive to adulthood. While some animals rely on care or vast number of eggs, the tortoise relies on the longevity of their life. Female tortoises can produce offspring for well over a century. This is one reason tortoises live so long, so they can reproduce many times and thus continue the species. Again, I'm visualizing that as I'm riding Tonto, I see salmon in the water. I see some humans taking care of their babies, and I see that Tonto has children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-grandchildren, great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, okay, because they can reproduce for over 100 years. So they're going to have a lot of relatives over the course of that time, all right? So I'm visualizing all of Tonto's family members. Okay, so let's keep going. Reproduction, however, is not a cause of tortoises' longevity. Longevity means long life. The most fundamental cause of their longevity is their incredibly slow metabolism. A creature's metabolism is the rate at which they process food and energy. Some animals, such as the hummingbird, have very fast metabolisms in order to power their high energy existences. Conversely, tortoises have very slow metabolisms because they have very few energy expenditures. In general, creatures with slow metabolisms live longer than those with faster metabolisms. Due to its low metabolism, the tortoise can live for up to a year without food or water. When explorers were traveling to the Galapagos Islands in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was common for sailors to take tortoises on board the ship as they left the islands. Since tortoises survived so long without food or water, they were able to provide the sailors with a very long-lasting supply of fresh meat aboard the ship. Oh no, I have to now use my sword to protect Tonto from these pirates that are coming to take Tonto for food. Okay, and of course Tonto is very, very slow because Tonto's metabolism is slow. All right, so again, more visualization. Visualization will also help you track the order of the information because you'll be able to ask yourself, when did I see that? So in what order did I see that? So I saw Tonto's great-grandchildren before I had to defend Tonto from the pirates. Well, sailors, but I'm going to visualize them as pirates. Okay, D. Metabolism alone, however, does not explain the great age to which the tortoise can live. Critical to the tortoise's longevity is their hard shell, which protects them from predators. Every long-lived creature in nature has a mechanism for protection. Some animals have speed to effect a quick escape from predation. Some use intelligence to outwit predators. Some use poison against predators, and some have physical protection, like the tortoise. In addition to its hard outer shell, the tortoise is also a large animal, and in general, larger animals tend to live longer than smaller animals. Okay, so again, lots of good visualization here of these protective mechanisms. Tonto is a super tortoise. Tonto has all of these defense mechanisms. Tonto can spit poison, can make a darting escape if needed, meaning a quick escape. And Tonto is very clever. Okay, Tonto's got math skills. All right. A final cause of tortoises' longevity is their island habitat. Animals which live on islands tend to live longer because they are kept separate from many of the most dangerous predators. Instead of developing energy inefficient methods of keeping safe from predators and thus requiring an increased metabolism, tortoises are free to allocate their energy to extending their lifespan and maintaining a very low metabolism. All right, so again, I'm visualizing that big, dangerous dinosaur-looking thing is on the land. It cannot get to Tonto. Tonto is on the island with me. Okay, so continuing that visualization. By the way, this speed that I'm reading is absolutely fast enough on the IELTS to read the passage and then answer the questions. If you're reading at this speed that I'm reading right now, it shouldn't take you more than about 8 minutes, maximum 9 minutes to read the passage. That means you have about 10, 11 minutes for the questions. And Gliding Wave says, Tonto has a shield. Yeah, Tonto. You take off his shell and use it as a shield for defense, right? That's kind of a cool idea. If some of you have seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you might be getting some pictures of Tonto as a kind of a superhero. All right, F. So here we go. Though tortoises have developed an extraordinary ability to live a long life, today this ability is threatened by a number of factors. First, and perhaps most significant, is predation by humans. In the past, tortoises and humans did not commonly coexist, but today tortoises are killed by poachers who value the tortoise's shell. Second, the contamination of tortoise habitats has put tortoise young at risk. For the first 5 years of a tortoise's life, they are prone to predators such as rats. Originally, such predators did not share the tortoise's island habitat, but through the introduction of rats and other species to the habitat, it has put the tortoise at risk. Finally, the tortoise's slow metabolism means that they are very slow and virtually incapable of adapting to these new pressures. If tortoise populations are not looked after, they will almost certainly become extinct. Ooh, I really have to take care of Tonto to make sure that my beautiful tortoise and my tortoise's friends survive for generations to come, so that my children and my grandchildren can also ride Tonto into an exciting and stress-free future. All right, so now that I've read this paragraph and I've kind of journeyed visually through this story, because in essence it is a story. So I'm visually journeying through this story from the very beginning of visualizing myself riding Tonto to fighting off the sailors, to fighting off the different kinds of predators, to helping Tonto on the island. It is a visual story, okay? All right, so now let's get into the questions, and you'll see it becomes much, much faster and easier to answer these when you have this kind of active reading. So visualization is a part of that active reading, okay? Debarak says, giants are encroaching on the island to threaten Tonto's life. Yes, and you're there to protect Tonto, Debarak, okay? Giant rats. All right. Okay, number one, factors that lower tortoises' life expectancy. What is the answer to that? So that should be fairly straightforward now. Okay, so what is or what are the variables that are dangers for Tonto? Okay, welcome to our group of members, Habshia. Okay, Paulo says F. Nick Hill says F. Carolina says F. Maxim says A. Number one is F. We just read that, right? So don't overcomplicate it. Humans, rats, their inability to move quickly. So Tonto is not able to escape. Tonto has to fight and survive, right? There's no escape for Tonto. We visualize that in the very last paragraph, right? We just read that. So we just read about how humans, rats, these modern pressures, their inability to escape are really dangerous and don't help to live a long life, okay? Here's a good example of why skimming and scanning are really bad strategies for this type of question, because if you're trying to skim and scan for this answer, you literally have to skim read the entire passage before you get to the correct answer. Is everybody clear on that? Is everybody on the same page? And IELTS likes to do this because they're not going to give a band 9 for reading for a student that can't read the passage and answer the questions, that's trying to search for answers. Okay, so be careful. Okay, it would be really frustrating to have to skim read an entire passage to get the first question in the reading section, because this is passage 1, correct. Okay, that would be brutal. All right. Okay, number 2, tortoises being used as a food source. All right. So this is where we were visualizing the sailors eating poor Tonto's friends. Anybody remember which paragraph, or at least which part of the reading this is coming from? So we have A to F, right? Which is A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. One way to look at this is as 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. So start, middle, and end. Okay. Try to think about your passage in terms of start, middle, and end, because you might not remember exactly which paragraph it's coming from, but you might remember whether it's coming from the start, the middle, or the end. Okay. So some of you are saying C, some of you are saying D. And Nick Hill's saying, well, number 2 is definitely coming from the middle. Okay. So here, if needed, we can go back and we can say, okay, well, I don't remember if it's C or if it's D. So I can just kind of go back and then look at C and look at D. Okay. So reproduction is not a cause of the tortoise's longevity. The most fundamental cause is their slow metabolism. Okay, I remember that there was something about slow metabolism because they don't need water and such. Okay. And then here we have, due to its slow metabolism, the tortoise can live up to a year without food and water. When explorers were traveling to the Galapagos Islands in the 18th, 19th centuries, it was common for sailors to take tortoises. Okay, so it is C, all right? So I remembered it's the middle. Debrock says it's probably D. Now, if you remember that it's the middle, definitely start with C. So looking at C. Also, another way that you can help to find this answer quicker is to remember that this is going to be some kind of an example, okay? So remember that body paragraphs have topic sentences, explanations, and examples. And this body paragraph is a perfect example. So it has a topic sentence. Reproduction, however, is not a cause of the tortoise's longevity. That's your topic sentence. And then it has an explanation. The most fundamental cause of their longevity is their incredibly slow metabolism.
sorry, that's still the topic sentence. It's two topic sentences here. And then the explanation. A creature's metabolism is the rate at which they process food and energy. Some animals, and then it starts to go into examples. Some animals, such as the hummingbird. So you know it's the middle, you know it's an example, so you're really looking at the last half of the middle paragraphs for this information. Does that make sense? So if you have this clearly in your head, these strategies, you're going to be very quick to find this answer. It should only take you seconds. Okay. Paulo is asking, would it be a good idea to summarize each paragraph in a few words? Yes, Paulo, that's another part of active reading that I've taught in other classes. So that's the critical reading, okay, where you ask, what is this paragraph about? Absolutely. But I don't want to do that at the same time, Paulo, because I want to keep the strategies separate for now. It'll get to be too much if I try to combine too many of these strategies in this one class, okay? All right, so very clearly, the answer here then is C, okay? Number 3, separation from predators contributes to their long lifespan. So, all right, anybody remember where this answer is coming from? I clearly remember seeing that kind of dangerous T-Rex on the other island or on the other continent. And I'm kind of safe and happy with Tonto on our little island. So separation, isolation from predators, that was coming from which paragraph? Nick Hill says E, very good. Yeah, that was before the dangers that threaten their lives. Okay, good. Number 4, some animals have different methods of ensuring the species lives on. Okay, what was that one? I think that one I don't need to go back and search for either because that's introduced quite early on. And I remember where that is. So number 4, when did I visualize the salmon having tons of little eggs in the river? I was sitting on Tonto's back looking at the salmon laying their eggs in the river. And then also humans really carefully caring for their babies. Number 4. All right. So this is where I can see that we still need a bit of practice with this visualization. That was early on in my story. So in my story of riding my pet tortoise Tonto, that was early on. And Carolina and Debarock have it correct. It's B. Okay. So that was after the introduction. The introduction with me getting on Tonto at first, and then the next paragraph was me riding around on Tonto and seeing those different babies. Okay. All right, and then the last one, number 5. Tortoises have difficulty adapting to new environmental pressures. Okay. So again, this one, I don't need to search the passage for this one because it's still clear in my head where I read this information. Okay. So number 5, tortoises have difficulty adapting to new environmental pressures. Yeah, very good, Paulo. Very good, Sammy. It's F. And this goes back to the question saying that, note, by the way, you may use any letter more than once. So again, that was in the conclusion saying that tortoises are really slow and the world is changing around them. And these new predators to the islands, humans and rats, are really difficult because they're just they're not able to escape, so they're not able to move away or run away, right? Okay, so here the correct answers to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are F, C, E, B, and F. Okay, so now we have our fill in the blanks and true, false, not given. But since I was focusing in this class on this strategy of visualization, I'll let you answer these questions in your own time, okay?
Again, try to use the information from your visualization to help you locate the information quickly and effectively. All right. Visualization is also very, very helpful with these true, false, not given. And then members, once you answer these questions, I'll show you 10, 11, 12, 13 again. This is test number 5 at aehelp.com. You won't find it at GIELTS because that's general IELTS reading materials. But at aehelp.com, this is test number 5, and it is the first reading passage for those of you who have it. For those of you who don't, use the video. Send me the answers, and then I'll send you the answer key for these, okay? Read the passage one more time and really focus on these skills of visualization. So just to recap, see the image clearly so that you understand it. Include yourself so that you can focus and remember the information, and make it unique. So ride Tonto so that you can recall that information, bring it back to when you need it, okay? And don't go too far, because in 30 minutes we will start an IELTS listening class, part 1 and part 2. And in listening, these visualization strategies are just as effective, okay? So you want to visualize what you listen to so you can apply it to the next class, the listening class. And for everybody watching, check us out at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. I will be back in 30 minutes. By the way, if some of you missed that discount code at the beginning of the class, it's R4TYJ. Okay, so make sure to use that for a 20% discount on the websites. Okay, members, fantastic job in today's class. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, and I will be back in 30 minutes with some listening. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from beautiful Victoria momentarily, and I will be back soon. Bye for now.